Hello, this is Conquering History Games, and it's time for another guide to a nation in the world of Kaiserreich, Hearts of Iron 4. Today, the Patreon voters have selected Mongolia, and today under their leader Roman von Ungern-Sternberg, I will explain what happens when you decide to reform the Mongolian Empire and how to basically do that. As usual, a little bit of background first. In the original timeline, Mongolia was a nation that Roman von Ungern-Sternberg here found himself very closely affiliated with. He tried to make himself effectively the leader. He had this man down here as the leader, but he was just a puppet for Roman. But he died in the 1920s in the original timeline. However, in this world, Roman did not die, and he has been ruling Mongolia for nearly 20 years. So this is going to be a much faster video than, say, my French ones or my Polish ones, because there's not a whole lot of complexity to how you run the Mongolian Empire. So you start with 9 military divisions. You've got 3 research slots, which is actually pretty nice. Considering you're just in the middle of Central Asia, you'd think you'd only have 2 or something like that. 11 civilian factories, 5 military factories, no naval dockyards, which you do not need because you do not border the ocean. And this is your focus tree, which I'm going to get to in a minute because that's going to be most of this video. National spirit, you have a very important one, the Scourge of the Steppes. This gives you 5% recruitable population, so you have over 300,000 manpower at the beginning while you were on limited conscription, so that's nice. You also get additional cavalry attack and defense, which is also very, very good. You are a national populous country. This is not really ever going to change. So let's just go right into the focus tree. It's all about recreating the Mongol Empire. So you are going to usually want to start with this event. The Russians are watching. You may notice there's nothing here. Get used to that. Sorry about that. So get used to that. These events do not have any flavor text, unfortunately. But that's okay. There's not a whole lot to it. So let's take the Russians are watching, and I'm going to cut back, and we're going to find out what that means. Once this national focus is complete, you are going to get the Russians aren't watching event, and it's just, you don't want to take a snot with the risk. If you're not worried about risk, you're playing the wrong damn country. Get out of here. Go play the Commune of France or something. This gives you cores on certain areas of Macau. Which you pick just depends on how many cores you're going to get. So we're going to go for maximum cores here. So you're going to have the Mongol Minority and Jibi, and then you could potentially form the Mongolian Empire. But first, let's take a look at the Mongolian Minority, which you have to take care of before you could actually attack Tibet. So there's going to be a cut here. After you complete that focus, Macau will declare war on you because they don't want to give you your land, and then you will have your first war, where you're going to once again cut to after that war is over. The war against Macau is over. It was quite a short one, and then you are going to get this pop-up victory, which is going to be happening regularly, so get used to it. You can choose to loot the land and salt the earth of the area that you destroyed. This gives you cores on the area you destroyed, as well as steel production, except that you lose manpower. Alternatively, you can just have them be cored peacefully, and you lose more political power. Typically, you're just going to want to loot the land and salt the earth so you can keep making steel, so you can keep making guns. So that's what I'm going to do here. So next, it is time to form the new Mongolian Empire. Let's see what happens next. With the new Mongolian Empire, you can decide if you're going to have the Mongols rise again, which gives you several cores, which you could just head on down to the search bar here and type them in. So, for example, you get a core here and here. You just get more cores on the areas that you already have, or you can say you're going to focus on developing the state. Of course, the Mongols are going to rise again, which is going to piss off all of your neighbors for some reason. You also will get this national spirit and a new flag. The national spirit is Mongolian Empire funded, less consumer good factories are used, and you get a greater factory output. So you can then choose to attack Tibet. Alliance with Tibet is technically possible, but why would you do that? You're the freaking Mongol Empire. So you're going to attack Tibet. And you can also go with a Central Asia intervention for when the inevitable war happens between Alash Orda and the Turkish Khanate. But let's look at what's going to happen once you get further down this political focus tree. And you might have noticed I haven't been going over the stuff to the right and the left. That's because it's pretty simple here. Your Air Force obviously improves your Air Force. Improving your industry is right here. You can get more resources, steel, and things like that. Reinforcing the Mongol Empire, of course, is where you do your land doctrines, nuclear technology, and your 4th research slot. That is the only extra research slot you are going to get. You also can increase your recruitable population over here, but at the cost of some political power. So you're going to want to time when you research this correctly. Also, underneath the Khan cavalry, you first can modify your national spirit. So your cavalry attack is increased. I know it says plus 5% and plus 5%, but that is going to be added to what's already here. So you're going to get a total of plus 20%. You can then choose to go motorized and armored, which, I mean, I guess you could do that, but you're the Mongols. You got to go horse. So you can recruit Ungern's Guard, which will spawn you additional cavalry divisions that have more cavalry brigades. So they're going to be 3x3 instead of 6. So that's all there really is to know about that. The main focus is down here. So again, we're going to fast forward till after a couple more of these focuses have been taken. So when we talk about this bottom part of the focus tree, we're just going to skip over the left and right because it's just, I've already talked about those before, they're quite simple. Those of you who know the history of the Mongol Empire know that the Mongols were great because they sewed the Chinese head on top of a Mongolian body. Now China is broken up into many small pieces here, so while if they were all united they would probably be an impossible task for you to defeat on your own. However, because they are fractured, you get to take over them one by one. So for example, bringing down the Shangqiq, we're going to use console commands here just for the sake of moving this along. Oop. The Shangqing, you will declare war on them. This is what happens whenever you finish these different focuses. It's just war automatically, so again, you're going to want to time it out correctly. Then after you go to war with them, once again, you win that war. What is it for them? I think it's SQI. No, oops. There we go. War's over. Or should be over. Give it till midnight. There we go. Or maybe not. We forgot what this was about. That's pretty funny. That's why you are not supposed to use console commands. So you're going to get an event where you destroy the Shangqing forts, and again, you have these annexations, looting, insulting the earth, or incorporating them peaceably. In this particular case, you're going to lose political power either way, but let's just salt the earth again. But all you do as the Mongols is just rinse and repeat over and over and over again. You get a claim to fight the Qing, so that's here. You can fight the Yunnan clique. You could fight the AOG, which will sometimes become reorganized China. In fact, most of the time it seems to become reorganized China. And then you can keep going. You can attack Manchuria, so that would be the Fengtian government. And you're also going to get decisions as to what you are going to do about them. You can claim the German colonies. You can destroy the litigation cities, so that would be all these little blue areas here, and so on and so forth. And then when you get down here, you get more claims on Alashorda or Turkestan if you decide not to intervene over here. You also can eventually attack the Caucasus and the Cossacks, as well as a lot of other stuff. So what I'm actually going to do, because all you're doing is rinsing and repeating, is I am going to cut ahead to a situation where you have taken all of the land that you could have gotten claims on, and you can see just how big the Neo-Mongolian Empire can be. So, see you on the other side. Something that I wanted to point out regarding the acquisition of the AOG, or Reorganized China, almost every time you do that, because they are in a faction with the German Empire, Germany is also going to declare on you. So you need to be ready to fight all of Mittel Europa if you're going to go after the AOG. Just something as a heads up. On the other hand, if you time things right, you could actually be the person that destroys the German Empire once and for all if they have lost their civil war. I mean, not their civil war. If they lose the Second World War against the Commune of France and they're kicked out of Europe and they end up not fleeing to Africa because they've federalized it, or for some other reason, these Indochina areas will be the last bastion of the German Empire, and you are in the perfect position to destroy them. So again, just something to keep in mind. Another unique event that could happen after you take the legation cities would be the seizing of foreign investments, where you will remove a bunch of civilian factories from where the legation cities used to be, and in return you will get a national spirit that reduces the amount of consumer good factories that you use as well, and increase your factory output. Or you could do nothing and you'll just lose a little bit of political power, but as you can see, it'd be right there. And once again, we see the evidence that it's the focus tree is not exactly complete, or at least that Mongolia is not technically complete, because you just have a question mark there. Also, I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but once you become the new Mongolian Empire, you start going by Genghis Khan II. And right now, I've been working on the Strike at Manchuria focus, and I wanted to show you when this happens, because you're going to go to war with Fengtian, who is an autonomous dependency of Japan. So naturally, they are going to call in Japan as well as Transmur, unless they've broken ties, of course. But once more, you will have to contain with a major power because you are attacking one of their puppets. Just as that happens with the AOG, it's going to happen with the Fengtian government as well. So when the time comes that you want to do that, make sure that you are prepared, and keep in mind what happened the last two times really, that the Mongols tried to invade Japan. See you after the next cut. A rather interesting national focus that you could research is claiming Macau, which is actually owned by Portugal. Portugal, which actually has is getting a revamp soon. It's going to have its own national focus tree and some very interesting events. Looking forward to that. But anyway, they've got little colonies scattered all over the world. For example, they got anybody who's played in India knows they have Goa here. But you can give them this event where you demand it because it belongs to China, and now you are China, and they're going to give in. Pretty much every time. I've never seen them not do it. Maybe when Portugal gets revamped, it won't happen anymore, but for now, they'll always give it. But it's interesting that it takes a full 70 days for you to research something like that just to get that one province. An interesting focus here is the restoration of the eastern borders. This gives you a claim on all of the land that Russia holds at the start of the game, as well as Transmur, although as you can see, Transmur is already long gone. So this does not actually cause you to immediately go to war with Russia. You actually just get the available war goal, and it is not going to expire at any time. You also have the rest of the focuses here where you can attack a lot, the autonomy, the Turkestan, the Caucasus, the Cossacks. I'm using console commands just for demonstrating, but in a real game, all of these areas are going to have been sucked up by Russia already, most likely. 99% of the time, by the time you get here. So those will just be bypassed. So effectively, when you get your chance to go to war with Russia, you're going to be able to take everything that Russia has. So let's see what happens afterwards. So we are now at the bottom of the annexation focus tree, where you can reclaim Persia. This is assuming you have taken all of that other land that you have, so properly deserve as the new Mongolian Khanate. You can now go to war with Persia. Now this is another focus that does not immediately send you to war. It just gives you the justification. As you can see, Persia is a member of the Axis, which is made up of Arabia and the Sultanate of Egypt, and sometimes Tripolitania. So, I'm sure if you've gotten this far, you have the biggest, baddest army in the world, but it is something to keep in mind when it comes to you deciding whether you are going to go to war with them or not. So, after this war happens, well, let's declare. You can take Persia, but as you can see, that actually does not end the war. Whenever you go to war with the Axis, you have to end up taking out Egypt, or the war does not end in much the same way that if you... Oh yeah, and there you have it. The potential Mongolian Khanate that you could create. And actually, it could be even bigger depending on if you take German Indochina, if Russia has reclaimed its former western states from Germany, if you took the fight to Germany and were able to defeat them, and so on and so forth. Obviously, you're not going to get this done by 1937, but if you do it, it's very impressive. And that's really all there is to it. To the Mongols, they're not a complicated faction. It's just research focus, win, research the next focus, win, research the next focus, win. Some of these I don't really see why they're here. For example, why do you have a choice if you want to puppet or occupy the Yunnan warlord clique, but you don't have that with, say, Turkestan? And why is this needed to get to Russia? I don't know. It's probably a focus tree that will have adjustments in the future, but it's just a fun, super duper ahistorical country to play as. So I hope this was helpful for you. If you liked it, press that like button, and if you want to see me do more of this, feel free to subscribe and click the little bell so you're always going to be notified whenever a new guide is uploaded. And if you want to help decide what are going to be the next guides that I do, Patreons, and I have a link in the description, are able to vote on content, including what will be the next introductory guide to A Nation in the World of Kaiserreich for Hearts of Iron 4 will be. So with all that said, you have a wonderful day.